refused. But still, the thought was there. What is going to happen to me in the future? That came to him also at that time. It is bound to come. Death is a crisis which makes you think deeper than when you are alive and vital in this life. So, these three desires, eshanas, the mind gives up. When I become a Brahmana, a spiritually ripe person, Vihaya, he says, Brahmanas renounce. That which is the desire for sons is the desire for wealth. And that which is desire for wealth is the desire for the worlds. For both these are nothing but desires. Items are different, but the quality is the same. Desire means emptiness within and effort to fulfill that emptiness. When you feel hunger, what happens to you? There is an emptiness in the stomach. There is a fire seeking some fuel for itself. That's called hunger. And immediately we put food into it and the fire is satisfied. Hunger is over. This is how desire acts on the human mind. It makes you outgoing. Something is missing here. Let me get it there. So I go to eat because something is missing here. I go to enjoy pleasure. Something is missing here. Joy is missing. Everything is dry. And finally, little name, fame, glory, we all seek it because we feel we are too small, too finite, unknown. We get some status in society, some good word from people, quite natural. That's called loka. So lokeshana, putreshana, vitteshana, lokeshana, upe hete eshne eva bhavataha. All these are nothing but desire, is it? Then, therefore, the knower of Brahman, having known all about scholarship, Panditya, he says, should try to live upon that strength which comes from knowledge. Knowledge is strength. Knowledge makes you fearless. Ignorance makes you weak. So live on that strength of knowledge that has come to you. The Brahmana is of that nature. He lives on the strength of the knowledge he has achieved. Then, having known all about the strength as well as scholarship, he becomes meditative, munirbhavati, meditative, more thoughtful. Not that he won't speak, he will speak, but very rarely, only when there is worthwhile something to say, most of the time deeply thoughtful within, meditative. Having known all about meditativeness and its opposite, he becomes a knower of Brahman. Brahmajnani he becomes. How does the knower of Brahman, behave? A very interesting question. As second chapter of the Gita you have, how does a Sthita Prajna behave? Arjuna asked that question. And more detailed description you get there. Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha, samadhistasya keshava, sthitathir kim prabhasheta, kim asita prajeta kim. How does a Sthita Prajna, man of steady wisdom, whose wisdom is rooted in the Brahman, how does he behave? How does he speak? How does he act, etc., etc.? We are interested to know. And some of the most remarkable verses of the second chapter towards the end deal with the particular subject. Here the question is asked, and the answer is simply given. How does a knower of Brahman behave? The answer is, howsoever he may behave, he is just that. Howsoever he may behave, he is just a knower of Brahman. There is no rule and regulation regarding his behavior. He has fulfilled himself. Every act of his is full of meaning. So he said, howsoever he may behave, he is just that. He is that knower of Brahman. Shankara comments, this doesn't mean that he may do some wicked deeds or some harm to others and all that, because such a knowledge can never allow you to do such things. That is perfectly outside the purview of this knowledge. They will always do only what is good, because they know they are one with all. And so, simple answer, he behaves, and whatever he behaves, whatever way he behaves, he is just that. He is a knower of Brahman. Except this profound truth, everything else is perishable. This is the only imperishable. That's why when Buddha attained illumination, the immortal has been gained by me. Till now the body was immortal, subject to birth and death. I knew this. I didn't know this immortal dimension. Now I have realized it. Then let this body go. I don't care for it. It has finished its work. This language. Let this building made of raft and bamboo, etc., all be disbanded. I don't care. I have achieved the supreme immortal realization. That's how Buddha said 1,000 years later. Therefore, Kahola, the son of Kushitaka, kept silent. He was satisfied with the answer. This great scholar says, here in Shankara's commentary, so many beautiful things have been given with an extensive commentary, and then there comes also the idea, only one without a second. When name and form are tested from the standpoint of the highest truth in the light of the above Shruti texts, as to whether they are different from the Supreme Self or not, they cease to be separate entities. Name and form and Brahman, that's the universe. Is name and form separate? Are they separate entities? From the highest point of view, they are not. They are all Brahman only. Foam is all water. Vapor is all water, though by name and form they are different. So Vedanta described the whole universe as Brahman plus name and form. Nama, Rupa. Both Buddha's teachings, Vedantic teachings, both contain this wonderful concept, Nama and Rupa, differentiating agents in this world. Gold is the same, but in a bangle it has one form and one name. In a necklace it has another form, another name. Similarly in other ornaments. But gold is the same, and they are all gold. So Nama Rupa is not eternal. They change all the time. Same gold you can melt once again and make into another ornament. Nama Rupe, say Anityam. Nama Rupa is unreal, non-eternal. But truth alone, Brahman alone is true, of which these are Nama Rupa. That way says, on account of our primordial ignorance, the reality of Brahman, although remaining as it is, even now we have that Brahman, but because of their primordial ignorance, we are not able to understand the truth. It is untouched by anything. Like the reality of the rope. When you see a rope as a snake, rope doesn't change into a snake. You made a mistake only. Rope is still a rope. And when you understand your truth, your snake vanishes, so rope reveals itself to you, which was always there. It's not discriminated from the limiting agents, which are the body and the organs. Don't connect the Atman with the body and these organs. Then you find the Atman is the petty little soul that we are, full of pain, suffering, etc., etc. If you discard this limitation, know the nature of the soul as it is infinite, ever free. This unreal phenomenal existence created by differentiation is indeed a fact. We don't say it doesn't exist. We are all here. We have ignorance, we have knowledge, we have desire, we die, we suffer. All this is fact. Doesn't cease to exist. But when true knowledge comes, we understand the truth of the situation. But believers in the highest truth, they understand. Even when we are passing through all this, we were all Brahman only and nothing else. We cannot understand that truth now, when we are passing through the ignorance and the experience of separateness. But once truth is realized, this is perfectly true. This is the Brahman alone is here. That shloka says in the Mandukya Karika that when this Advaita Jnana comes to a person who has been sleeping in the delusion of ignorance for ages, then he realizes that non-dual reality of Brahman ever pure, ever free, that has been the truth all through. Now he understands it, but he was not understanding it earlier. Yatha jiva prabudhyate anadi mayaya baddho. Yatha jiva prabudhyate. Bound by the maya for ages, jiva awakened from it. What does he see? Advaitam. He realizes that Advaitic state, that Brahman, all the time it was there. That is the Vedantic language. That means now we are in a state of ignorance, a state of hypnotic condition. They are hypnotized into thinking, I can't do without it, I can't do without it, I can't do without it. I am a slave of things. That is a hypnotic state. Real state is, I am far superior to all the items that are in this world. Can I be equated with a little piece of eatable in front of me? Why do I steal it? Because I consider myself small compared to that thing. If I know my own infinite nature, I will never do it. How to create a crimeless society? By people realizing that they are superior to the things amongst which they live. When that knowledge will come, there will be no crime in society. At present it is not there. We know we are nobody. We know those things are supreme. So we become slaves to things and we commit crime, murder, cheating, stealing, everything we do. So this is the knowledge that has to come. This dehypnotization of the human mind, Vedanta wants to do. Today we are fully hypnotized. The more evil in society, the more hypnotism in society. We are fully hypnotized. That change will come when this knowledge begins to filter a little into us, and our conduct, behavior, all will change. We shall not be running after things, competing with people, destroying them to fatten oneself. We will never do that. That change will come only through spiritual awareness, spiritual education. Is that like that? Brahman alone, one without a second, is there. You and I are all one. Knowledge of this nature will reduce the power of that competition, the evil power of competition. Suppose we realize all of us are citizens of free India. How happy we shall live in this country. Helping each other, not trying to destroy each other. That consciousness has not come yet. Even that political consciousness has not come. We are citizens dealing with fellow citizens in a spirit of oneness. That itself can do immensely. Remove the evils of society. Knowledge of Brahman is a far higher quality. Much greater achievement will come thereby. And so, Yajnavalkya says, ignorant people consider the sky as concave. Shankara writes in his commentary how ignorance functions and how truth removes that ignorance. Yes. As the sky, fancied by the ignorant as being concave or blue, it really is without these qualities, being naturally untouched by them. Similarly, Brahman, although fancied as being subject to hunger, thirst, etc., by the ignorant, who think that they are hungry or thirsty, really transcends these qualities, being naturally untouched by them. That is the commentary. It is not affected by human misery, being beyond it. The Atman is not affected by human misery, being beyond it. That's the language. Even sin cannot touch the Atman. Sin can affect the body, the sensory system, and the mind. All infection can affect only all the three. Beyond that is the Atman. No infection, no sin can ever touch it. Eternally sinless nature is the Atman. That is why sinners can become saints. They realize their true nature then. When they committed sin, they never understood their true nature. But sinners do become saints because that is their true nature. They realize that now. How many people we have seen doing wrong, later on changing, completely changing, from most wicked condition to highly saintly condition. How is it possible? They realize their own true nature. Till then they were not realizing it. They were under hypnotic condition, doing all this mischief and evil in society. So Vedantic teaching is very simple. We are in ignorant state now. All these tendencies come from those ignorance that is within. And we run out of ourselves for doing this and that. But all the time, if we can go discriminate, what is my true nature? Am I really subject to all this? Am I really bound to the world? Am I a slave of this little world? Then, slowly, the knowledge comes. I am the infinite one. Why should I run after all these petty things? Only through that knowledge, this cessation of activity outside can come. All restraint at the sensory level becomes natural when the knowledge of the Atman shines even a little in a human mind. There is no forcible restraint. Natural restraint. I don't need it. I don't want it. I have something better with me. That's the knowledge that makes for inner fulfillment and stability of character. What a beautiful achievement by the human being. All the technological marvels of today are nothing compared to the spiritual marvel in a human life. That he was a slave to things till now. He has become free now. That's called freedom. What else is the definition of freedom? Vedanta has given a beautiful definition of freedom. He says, Sarvam says, whatever you try to achieve things from outside, depending on things outside, that is called unfreedom. When you don't have that, you are truly free. That's the meaning of the idea of Swatantrata, Swarajya, means that only. I am a slave to things, and where is freedom? I am not a slave to things, therefore I am free. That freedom cannot come unless this spiritual awareness comes to a human being. Purely physical awareness makes us constantly a slave to things outside. That must be fully realized by all people today. True freedom has to come after achieving some spiritual growth. Then day by day, we shall be more free, more free, more free. Take a case of a young boy or a young girl. He or she wants appreciation from the parents around them. Just clapping hands. That is needed for his growth. It does something, you clap hands, make it grow. For a child, it is absolutely needed. Dependence on the environment. But a mature human being doesn't do that. He does something and watch other people are clapping hands. That be foolish on his part. He does it because he is mature. He knows what is to be done. But a baby cannot do so. A baby's actions need to be appreciated by people around to encourage it, to make it grow. But as soon as it becomes a mature person, he or she does it on one's own initiative, as a free people, not because somebody is speaking good of me or ill of me or clapping hands for what I do, etc. This is the true meaning of freedom. Non-dependence on external factors is freedom. And let me see the relevance of this wonderful Vedantic teaching in the modern scientific context. This teaching which I gave comes from a shloka. Sarvam paravasham dukkham. Sarvam atmavasham sukham. Piti vidyat samasena sarupam sukha dukkhayoho. Know this as a characteristic of sukha and dukkha, happiness and misery. All dependence on external factors is misery. All dependence on oneself is freedom, is happiness. That is the language used in Vedanta. Sarvam paravasham. Always depending upon somebody. You are a dependent. Naturally there is no happiness there. You try to break away from it. But once you are able to stand on your own feet, on your own resources, you are free. Economically, socially, intellectually, culturally, in every sense. This definition stands true. Sarvam paravasham dukkham. Sarvam atmavasham sukham. Atmavasham, self-dependent. That is the way to be happy. Iti vidya samasena. In summary, understand this as the characteristic of sukha and dukkha. This is Vedanta. What does biology say? How do we measure progress in evolution? And Sir Julian Huxley refers to this in his big book, Evolution, a Modern Synthesis. There he says, those organisms that became more and more independent of the external factors, they progressed in evolution. Those who are continually thwarted by external factors, conditioned by external factors, they tarried behind. So evolution itself is due to independence of external factors and capacity to control those factors. At the human stage, that is almost supreme. We don't depend on external factor. Now there is summer heat. We have got a cooling system. There is no fear at all. We can manage. So this is the capacity of the human being to depend upon oneself, not to be a slave of nature. If this is true, continue further. In moral and spiritual life, no dependence, only independence, freedom, when we realize our own true nature. So this is how you relate the evolutionary concept of progress with the human development and progress in moral and spiritual life. Independence becomes the supreme factor. Otherwise, we are always dependent. If I am to be happy, you must smile at me. Then I am happy. If you are angry, I feel unhappy. My whole happiness is in your pocket, not in my pocket. That should not be. An American writer said that. When you put your happiness in the pocket of somebody else, you are in trouble. That's the language. How true it is. So, Shankara said here, we transcend these qualities, being naturally untouched by them, hunger, thirst, pain, pleasure, etc. They are his, attributed by the ignorant people to the self. And therefore we are living like this as creatures. The word creature. Why are we creature? We are dependent upon external factors. That's the meaning of the word creature. Don't be a creature. Don't be a jantu. Jantu is the word in Sanskrit. Don't be a jantu. You are a jantu like other jantus. But you can cease to be a jantu. You can be free. You can be free. And assert, I am free. I am free. Vivekananda often told Western audiences, say to yourself, Azad, Azad, I am free. I am free. I am not a slave. I am not dependent upon one factor or the other. Here you can see the touch of Vedanta, to make a human being stand on his own feet and be free. What a beautiful concept of human development it is. And so, in this particular sloka, you have this great teaching. The capacity to renounce the world comes only when you see something beyond the world of greater value than the world. And what can be more valuable than your own self? To save the self, we run out of a burning house, isn't it? Burning house is very costly, very valuable. But you are more valuable than that house. You come out of it, let it burn out, I don't mind. There you can see the importance of the self. This must be understood in all situations of life. There is something unique in this center of consciousness, which is man. That must be realized. Today we know it only very hazily. But now we must learn what exactly is its depth and its dimension. That is what the Upanishads will help us to understand. The next question and questioner is very, very important that we had slightly suggested last time. Gargi, that philosopher lady, she is asking Yajnavalkya. We take up that subject next Sunday when we meet here. We had already 2 power cuts in the afternoon. So if there is a power cut in the course of the discourse, they will switch over to the battery. But that means people far behind will not be able to hear, because these loudspeakers do not carry. So they'll have to come a little closer. If there is any such trouble, let us hope there will be no more trouble. Last Sunday, we had studied the verse dealing with the same subject, Yat Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma Ya Atma Sarvantaraha Tamme Vyachakshva. That is the subject that was taken up in the question asked by Kahola, and the answer was given by Yajnavalkya. Today we take up the next section, section 6 of chapter 3. It is in this section you begin with the appearance of Gargi, that philosopher lady who also questions Yajnavalkya. She puts one question and she is satisfied with the answer, then waits, somebody else puts a question, after that she comes up again. That portion is very beautiful. So today we shall deal with the subject of Gargi in that philosophical debate in the palace of King Janaka. Section 6, Atahainam Gargi Vachaknavi Papracha. Then Gargi, the famous speaker or orator, addressed Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkyeti hovacha. O Yajnavalkya, yadidam sarvam apsu otamcha protamcha. Some of these sections, as I have told thrice before, they deal with minute theological ideas obtaining at the time. The purely philosophical, spiritual ideas come in between, somewhere. That's why some of them I omit and dealing only with the spiritual and philosophical ideas of the Upanishad. Gargi, the doctor of Vachaknu, Vachaknavi, Vachaknu, also is a great speaker, asked him, if all this is pervaded by water it's not exactly the little water that we have. Perhaps it means hydrogen. The whole of this is pervaded by hydrogen in today's language, if we are to use. Then, what is water pervaded? Then the answer is by air. Air, again in this section, it means energy, prana. In that sense, the word air is used. By what is air pervaded? By the sky. You will find one element after the other being invoked. By what is the sky pervaded? By the world of the Gandharvas, O Gargi. By what is the world of the Gandharvas pervaded? By the sun, O Gargi. Then, by what is the sun pervaded? By the moon. By what is the moon pervaded? By the stars. It goes on. By what are the stars pervaded? By the gods, he says. And what is the world of the gods pervaded? One by one, subtler dimensions of reality. The most obvious thing is water. Then it goes more and more subtle. Then, by the world of Indra, he says, the world of the god is pervaded. Then, by what the world of Indra pervaded? By the world of Viraj. Now Viraj is what you call the cosmic person. The whole universe in a single personality is called Virat and Viraj. More or less, the Puranas we call Brahma, the creator Brahma. That is it. We are going subtler, more universalized conceptions. By what is the world of Viraj pervaded? By Hiranyagarbha, the golden egg. Just before creation, this was the first appearance of the Supreme Brahman as Hiranyagarbha. The wonderful name, the golden egg, that's language. By what is the world of Hiranyagarbha pervaded? Up to Hiranyagarbha, we can go on talking, discussing, keeping ideas in mind, conceptualizing, all this you can do. But when this question was asked, Yajnavalkya says, Do not, O Gargi, push your inquiry too far, lest your head should fall off. I mean, that's a way of telling in those days. Don't push your inquiry too far. You should not. You are questioning about a deity that should not be reasoned about. Above Hiranyagarbha, you are at the end of your capacity for speech, for conception, etc. You are going to a very profound dimension. Do not, O Gargi, push your inquiry too far. Thereupon, Gargi, the daughter of Vachaknu, kept silent. That is the first section. The elements, Shankara's commentary says, the elements from earth up to the ether or space are arranged one within the other. What a wonderful conception. One within the other. The idea is to show how an aspirant, the subject or seer, can realize his own self, which is immediate and direct. Pratyaksha is a sakshat, aparokshat, Brahman, immediate and direct, is within all and beyond all relative attributes. That is that Brahman. How do you do so? By taking up each of these relatively external elements and eliminating them by your own power of discrimination. Then Gargi said, if all this is composed of earth, then what is the warp and woof of all this? It will be scattered like a handful. Without that, it cannot be held together. The warp and woof of a cloth, that holds all the cloth together. The following inference is suggested, Shankara says. We observe that whatever is in effect, limited and gross, is respectively pervaded by that which is the cause. The effect is pervaded by the cause. That we all can understand. Simple logic. Unlimited and subtle. The cause is unlimited and subtle compared to the effect. As earth is pervaded by water, similarly in the series, from earth to the ether, each preceding element must be pervaded by the succeeding one till we come to the self that is within all. That is what is the ultimate state you go to. This is the import of the question. When we deal with matter, we deal with the first various molecule. Then within that is the atom. Within that is the various subatomic particles. In this way we see one inside the other, more subtle. At the innermost core of the atom, what is there? You cannot see. Only emptiness, nothing else is there. But that emptiness will reveal a profound truth later on. Not yet. The infinite Atman is there as pure consciousness in every item in the world. That's how Vedanta will discuss it, and today's science is going in that direction. Pure consciousness is present in everything. We have to go deeper and deeper, from gross to subtle, subtle to still more subtle, and the subtlest truth is the Atman of the nature of pure consciousness. Now, this is called, the Atman was called earlier in one chapter, the truth of truth. All these pranas, energies, whether physical or organic, they are all called truth. And the Atman is the truth of that truth. Satyasya satyam, that's language that was used. We go from truth to truth, a subtler truth, a deeper truth, until you come to the final reality, the truth of truth. Satyasya satyam. In many of our Puranas and hymns, you will find this language. Satyasya satyam, Rata satya netram, etc., etc. God is described as Satyasya satyam. Says, Hiranyagarbha, when you come to that state, it's a wonderful idea in cosmology. In today's cosmology, the concept of Hiranyagarbha will come in a different way. Highly dense and extremely hot. Suppose you conceive of a piece of matter to which the whole universe has been condensed. it will be like Hiranyagarbha. Except that in Hiranyagarbha, it is of the nature of pure consciousness, not mere material particle. So that explodes, what you call the Big Bang theory in astronomy. Hiranyagarbha contains within itself, this word Garbha is used. The whole world is in the Garbha. That is golden Garbha it is. That is the ultimate reality from which the universe has come by a course of evolution. In that concept, this word Hiranyagarbha comes in Indian thought, and similar ideas will come in modern cosmology, but they don't have that kind of consciousness associated with the ultimate reality. There's the only possible difference. So the word Hiranyagarbha comes here. In the Rig Veda, you hear that famous song, that hymn, Hiranyagarbha Samavartata Agre. In the beginning, Hiranyagarbha appeared. So the first product of creation is Hiranyagarbha. Out of Hiranyagarbha, diversities has come. At Hiranyagarbha level, it is all one. Now these are all ideas which have their echoes in modern astronomy. Take, for example, different forces working in nature. We have gravitation. We have got a strong force, the weak force, photons and other forces. All these are there. Now all these have become separate in course of evolution. But in the earlier phase, just at the beginning of evolution, they were all one. And that state is called singularity. The distinction between this force and that force never obtained at that time. That's called the singularity state. Say, they call it 1 by or 10 to the power of minus 33 seconds after creation. That's the language. 10 to the power of minus 33, minus 34, minus 35, like that they tell. So in that state you go, there is singularity. We are not able to go beyond that yet. That's what they say. What is that time? A mere fraction of a second. You can't even conceive of it. But evolution is a profound idea. Things take place quickly. Evolution is going on. Change has started. Every fraction of a second, some new thing is coming. So by the first 3 minutes, the world as you see today had come about. That's the language of modern astronomy. By the first 3 minutes after explosion, the world as you see today has already come into the picture. The galaxies and stars, etc. So in this case, Hiranyagarbha represents that singularity, that wonderful state where all the forces, diverse elements have not started at all. All this come much later, but all the forces have been unified in that state. That's called singularity. They tried to find out the nature of that state by experiment today, by creating conditions that are obtained at the time of the Big Bang. High temperature, intense pressure, all this you get today in those atom smashing, what you call experiments, where we have got in America, Europe, in America, and probably I think so in Russia also. Very costly methods they are. So as you go on, high temperature, what obtained at the time of the early initiation of the universe, they try to create there. And tremendous magnets to make for intense, what you call pull and movement, acceleration of the particles and colliding of particles. These are the things they experiment just to see what happened at that time, how these particles behave and all that. Then we predict, yes, that was the condition that obtained at the time of 10 to the power of minus 35 or 33 seconds after creation. Now these are all extraordinary experiments going on today. We cannot understand exactly what happened at the first time. We were not there. But studying the effects, we can find out what must have been the cause at that time. That is the way of study, experimental plus theoretical. Both go together. So we have theoretical physics and astrophysics, theoretical astronomy and practical astronomy. All these are there. That concept I wanted to mention of Hiranyagarbha, that singularity. There was nothing else but Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha Samavartata Agre. Agre means at the beginning. Only Hiranyagarbha was there. Because it is Garbha, it's a wonderful concept. Highly dense entity is a Garbha. Out of that, the whole baby, the whole human being comes out from that small dot that is there. So the word Garbha is used from that point of view. And today's language also is the same. The size of that primordial entity which exploded into a big bang, that size will be hardly a cricket ball. The whole universe was condensed into a cricket ball size. Imagine the amount of pressure, the amount of density, amount of heat must have been conserved there. And then it explodes and becomes expansion. Universes form and galaxies form. They move away from each other. They are studying all the movement of these galaxies and in today's astrophysics. I like this conception of Hiranyagarbha, except that today's astronomy doesn't accept any principle of consciousness associated with that ultimate reality. But some scientists have started accepting, I have quoted several times, the name of Fred Hoyle, whose book Intelligent Universe says that this universe cannot be explained without the concept of intelligence. Put intelligence into the universe, every one of these statements will be true. Except details may be wrong, like moon superior to the sun. These statements may be wrong. Details may be wrong. But the broad outlook remains perfectly in accord with scientific theories of today. So he says, Shankara says here, these are 5 elements. They are transformed. We consider the universe composed of 5 elements. Panchadhatu, the Sankhya philosophy. Today we have got other types of classification. But these are broad classification, the 5. Today we have got either the 92 elements, or now we have gone deeper about various constituents of the atom. What are the things there? The atomic number, we call it. From hydrogen up to uranium, etc. We'll find this kind of atomic number given to each item in the universe, and these are present in various parts of the world, like the sun, stars, etc., and the earth also. Do not, Gargi, push your question beyond Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is the final, for example, in today's astronomy, what was before the Big Bang. There is a question in one of the books, they put this question, what was before the Big Bang? Before the whole universe was condensed into this particular small material, background material. There's no answer, no possibility also. So, here Gargi is told, don't question further. So, she stopped there. Then another philosopher rises to put a question. Here is the next one. This deals with that great subject, Antaryami, inner self of all. Brahman as the Antaryami. Very beautiful spiritual concept is this concept of Antaryami. Antaryami, the inner ruler. Yama means to rule. The one inner ruler, remaining within you, he rules you, he develops you, etc. So this is called Antaryami Brahmanam, according to great commentators. And Ramanujacharya, Vishishtadvaita teacher, bases his philosophy on this Antaryami Brahmana, God or the Antaryamin, the self of all, like a thread that runs through the pearls. What a beautiful unity you get there. He is the unity. That is a concept that is being expounded in this section 7 of chapter 3. Athahenam Uddalaka Arunihi Papracha Ajnavalketi Hovacha. Very interesting story is coming. Then Uddalaka, the son of Aruna, son of Aruna. This story of Uddalaka Aruna comes also in Chandogya Upanishad, here in a different context. Asked Yajnavalkya, he said, in Madra, one of the states of ancient India, Madra, more like eastern Punjab, the northern side of eastern Punjab also, that may be identified as Madra Desha. Madri, from there Madri came, the wife of the Kaurava emperor. In Madra, we lived in the house of Patanjala Kapya, one sage, descended from Kapi. One of the great sages' name was Kapi. Studying the scriptures on sacrifices. His wife was possessed by a Gandharva, A similar story had come earlier also. He asked him who he